Hello, and welcome to another episode of Easing the Badger. I'm Will,
I'm Alex.
I am Flint.
and today we are covering chapters 27, 28, and 29 of The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. How are y'all doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's been yesterday, Memorial Day, was a little wacky at work, but I survived, got home on time, and then got ready for this and then went to bed.
Very good.
I did mine at work today.
I saw.
I'm still waking up, so.
And then you pretty much get to go straight into D&D after this, right?
No, D&D's on Sundays.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I don't know. What
I'm still off. No, I'm thinking it's Monday because yesterday screwed my whole schedule up. And having it off, yesterday felt like a Sunday to me. So, because I worked Saturday and Sunday, which is out of the ordinary. I'm off all week, so.
Yeah, I've never had a job where bank holidays matter, so.
No, they matter for the pharmacy at my store.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Not front end. No, we're open regular hours.
Only the second job that I've ever had where it's mannered. But yeah, that's just because I work for a university, so.
Fair.
Yeah. So, real quick, what was it you were talking about this morning? This is our halfway episode?
Pretty much, yeah. We are halfway through this book at this point.
Yeah.
We're cresting the hill.
Hump day, but hump episode. Coming down.
So it's all
Hump
what is it?
up.
What is it? How do you say it? Denouement? It's all downhill from here? Is that what you're telling me? It's gonna calm down. There's not gonna be any more climaxes.
Yeah, sure. Everything gets so much easier and more pleasant for these people.
Yeah, just keep telling yourself that.
It's all sunshine and rainbows from here on out.
There's 100 pages left and everybody's happy.
Perfect.
All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and jump into chapter 27, Shelter from the Storm. The icon for this chapter, I think this is the first time we've had this one in this book, right? It's the leaf and vine icon. This specific one, it's an early depiction of the trefoil leaf, and this version is only used in Eye of the World, apparently. I never noticed that.
I thought we had this one last time when I introduced us to the traveling people.
We might have, because in this case, that's what it represents.
Yeah, that's why I thought.
Yep, I just went back and looked at chapter 25. It's there too.
Yep.
Well, that's my bad, because I listened to that chapter in the audiobook and didn't look at the icon that time.
I will bet good money then, because you said they don't use this one in any of the other books, right?
Yeah, according to dragonmount.com, this one was only for Eye of the World, and then they changed the icon, the leaf and vine icon, in later books.
Okay. So yeah, this is really the only time we'll be seeing it is this book.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So we come back to Perrin's point of view, and he's really irritated by how slowly the Tuatha travel. The colorful wagons don't roll out until the sun is well in the sky, and if they find a cozy spot for the evening, they'd stop as early as mid-afternoon. Their caravan moved at such a leisurely pace that even the children could walk beside them without falling behind. Perrin is also surprised that Elias is fine with this pace. He stuck out like a sore thumb, moving like a predator as he walked, while the Tinkers always looked like they were on the verge of breaking out into a dance, and in fact there was always music and singing even as they traveled. But despite his differences, the Tuatha were very friendly to Elias, like they were with Perrin and Egwene, though Perrin could sense a deep wariness beneath the surface of them, like a deer ready to flee. Elias also certainly wasn't a fan of the Way of the Leaf, but when Perrin would press him about moving on ahead of them, the wild man would just say, "Listen, you had a pretty rough time before you met me, and you will again soon enough. Let's just chill for a few days and enjoy it while we can." Perrin tried to insist that at any moment a Murdral could show up and slaughter all of these people who wouldn't even fight back, but Elias told him that something was telling him to stay here, which drove Perrin crazy. Every night he would pace around the wagons, worrying and worrying that danger would appear, and it would be their fault for bringing it on the Tuatha on. Egwene, however, was having a grand time. So much so that he could barely talk to her because she was either huddled up in a girls-only chat with Isla, or she was dancing with Aram. The Tuathon knew a seemingly endless amount of songs, some of which the Emmons Fielders knew by different names. One time, Perrin stepped in it by asking them to play The Tinker Has My Pots without thinking, and they all laughed at him. They did know it, though, but as Toss the Feathers. Even with all of his worries, though, he couldn't help but join in on the dancing. One thing that really caught him off guard, though, was at night, the women would dance to the slow songs. Poor boy had never seen sexy dancing ladies before, and always blushed so furiously he might as well have glowed. Which, of course, just brought on teasing, and the sexy dancing ladies would pay him extra attention, moving into his field of view every time he would try to turn away from them. Rain said they didn't break those dances out very often, and Elias thanked Perrin for giving him something to tease him with, because he sure liked watching him do it. Eventually, he learned he needed to not give such a big reaction, and they'd leave him alone, but there was only so much he could do to stop the blushing. Eventually, Egwene even joined in, and the girls started teaching her the dances. As with everything, she put her all into learning how to gyrate her hips like the Tinker women, and Arm definitely took notice. Once he managed to get Egwene alone beside a wagon painted in green and yellow. "Enjoying yourself, aren't you?" he said. "Why shouldn't I?" She fingered the blue beads around her neck that Aram had given her, smiling at them. "We don't all have to work at being miserable the way you do. Don't we deserve a little chance to enjoy ourselves?" Aram stood not far off. He never got far from Egwene, with his arms folded across his chest, a little smile on his face, half smugness and half challenge. Perrin lowered his voice. "I thought you wanted to get to Tar Valon. You won't learn to be an Aes Sedai here." Egwene tossed her head. "And I thought you didn't like me wanting to become an Aes Sedai," she said, too sweetly. "Blood and ashes, do you believe we're safe here? Are these people safe with us here? A fade could find us any time." Her hand trembled on the beads. She lowered it and took a deep breath. "Whatever is going to happen will happen, whether we leave today or next week. That's what I believe now. Enjoy yourself, Perrin. It might be the last chance we have." When she walked off with Aram, Perrin realized that Elias had been right. They don't have to try to convert you to the Way of the Leaf. It seeps into you. Isla saw him huddling in the cold and gave him a dark green cloak. As he wrapped it around, she glanced at his axe and said, "It could fit better," with a sad look in her eyes. All of the traveling people did that. Their smiles never slipped, but every time they glanced at his axe, they looked disappointed. It made Perrin want to yell at them. "There are Murdral and Trollocs and Dark Friends that'll murder every one of you given the chance." The Dark One was out there, and the Way of the Leaf would burn in Balzamon's eyes. So he stubbornly left the axe uncovered by his cloak. One source of comfort was that his dreams had remained normal. Oh, he still had nightmares of Trollocs burning every wagon in the caravan, but even when he would bolt awake in the middle of the night, he was relieved that at least his dreams hadn't been invaded by Baalzamon again. He was constantly aware of the wolves by day. They kept their distance, but continued to travel parallel to the caravan. He could feel their contempt for the dogs, noisy beasts who had forgotten what their jaws were for and had never tasted fresh blood. Every day his awareness of them grew sharper. Dapple was, like Perrin, getting impatient with their slow pace. If Elias must escort them south, so be it, but let's get it over with and move on. Wind also grew impatient, for the hunting here was very poor, but he kept those thoughts in check when Dapple was near, and especially around Hopper. Hopper was a grizzled, guileful old wolf who was fiercely loyal to Dapple. Perrin couldn't wait to get to Tarvalon so he could be done with these wolves. We then hard cut to a dream. Perrin is sitting in Alspet Luhan's kitchen, sharpening his axe as she makes soup. A wolf comes in and curls up at Perrin's feet, but Mistress Luhan takes no notice. She also doesn't notice when Baalzamon comes striding in. He looks at the wolf and says, "Is that what you have protecting you? I've faced this many times before." He crooks a finger, and fire bursts from within the wolf, coming out of its eyes and mouth, consuming it entirely. Perrin tries to put it out, but it turns to a pile of ash. He grabs his axe and faces off against Baalzamon, shouting, "Leave me alone!" "You cannot run from me," Baalzamon said. "You cannot hide from me. If you are the one, you are mine." The heat from the fires of his face forced Perrin across the kitchen until his back came up against the wall. Mistress Luhan opened the oven to check her bread. "The eye of the world will consume you," Baalzamon said. "I mark you mine." He flung out his clenched hand as if throwing something. When his fingers opened, a raven streaked at Perrin's face. Perrin screamed as the black beak pierced his left eye and sat up, clutching his face, surrounded by the sleeping wagons of the traveling people. Slowly, he lowered his hands. There was no pain, no blood, but he could remember it. Remember the stabbing agony. Upon waking, Perrin sees Elias crouching next to him, about to wake him up. He could hear wolves howling and could sense from them fire, pain, fire, hate, hate, kill! Elias lets Perrin know it's time to go, and he scrambles out of bed to get his things together. Rain also wakes up, and he and Elias discuss that it's time for them to part ways, and that the Tuatha are going to seek out the safety of an Ogier steading. Rain tries to get them to stay long enough for a goodbye feast, but Elias insists they have to move. But even still, they wind up engaging in the longest Midwestern goodbye ever, with every member of the traveling people saying goodbye to the three of them at least once. Perrin got hugs from the dancing girls, which of course made him blush, and Arm pulled Egwene to the side to try to convince her to stay with them. When she insisted she was leaving with Perrin and Elias, Arm threw a hissy fit and stormed off. Perrin could see that Isla at least was relieved that Arm didn't decide to go off with them. When the goodbyes were finally done, wait, no, they aren't. Rain still has to do a ritual goodbye speech. "You came in peace," Rain intoned, bowing formally, hands on his chest. "Depart now in peace. Always will our fires welcome you, in peace. The way of the leaf is peace." "Peace be on you always," Elias replied, "and on all the people." He hesitated, then added, "I will find the song, or another will find the song, but the song will be sung this year or in a year to come. As it once was, so it shall be again, world without end." All of the Tuatha were gagged that Elias responded with the formal farewell, and they responded with, "World without end, world and time without end." Once they had finally left, Elias saw the Emmons Fielders staring at him and said, "Well, I couldn't be rude, could I? Just because I don't believe in their stupid song doesn't mean I can't be respectful." Egwene said, "Sure, Jan," and they were off. Soon, Dapple, Wind, and Hopper met up with them, and Perrin could sense that they were all still thinking about his dream. But Perrin did not want to think about his dream. He had thought that the wolves made them safe. "Not complete. Accept. Full heart, full mind. You still struggle. Only complete when you accept." He forced the wolves out of his head, and was surprised to learn he could do that. In that moment, he decided he wouldn't let them back in. Like a moron. As Egwene rode Bella, Perrin walked beside her and asked what it was she spent so much time talking to Isla about. "Isla was giving me advice on being a woman," Egwene replied absently. He began laughing, and she gave him a hooded, dangerous look that he failed to see. Advice? Nobody tells us how to be men. We just are. That, Egwene said, is probably why you make such a bad job of it. Up ahead, Elias cackled loudly. And that is the end of chapter 27.
Get him, Egwene. Get him.
Read him!
Immediately. You're going to learn not to run your mouth, boy.
When I reread that part, I absolutely cackled just like Elias because I had forgotten about it. And I was already thinking, well, that's why you suck.
It's one of my favorite lines in the series. I had to include it.
It's so good.
Gathered him right up.
So, one thing I was thinking about, and I didn't even cross my mind until I was listening to your summary. The Perrin's sitting there, and he's worried about the half-men coming after them. And it makes me wonder a couple of things. The first being, if it showed up without Trollocs, would the Tuathawan be relatively safe because his target is Perrin? You see what I'm saying? Because other times that they've shown up around other people, they haven't targeted other people except for our main group.
True.
So and in addition to that, what we'll see and how things went down in the upcoming chapter, my chapter, makes me think the same thing.
Maybe, though. I don't necessarily see it as the MO of the Murdral to show up alone for a strike mission like that. They just don't usually do that. They come in with their hordes and
I'm just suggesting in the past when we have seen them alone, this is what they've done. And it makes me think that they are very likely to, if not ignore them, just, maybe try and scare them off.
Yeah. We know that. Perrin doesn't know that.
Of course. I'm just saying, these are thoughts that came to my head. The other thing I was thinking about was, would the Way of the Leaf would the Tuathawan, because of the Way of the Leaf, allow someone else to protect them if that person, say, had jumped in front of them, right? An attack comes and, Perrin has seen some of the Tuathawan being attacked and he runs in with his axe. Are they going to try and stop him?
No.
No.
I don't think they would.
Right. I would think not, but
it's non-interference.
They might
be the Way of the Leaf. So they would run and let Perrin do what he would.
Right.
And then they would probably give Perrin a lecture afterward because they're sanctimonious like that.
Yeah, because why didn't Perrin also just run?
Ela especially.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because why didn't he also just run away?
Right. You didn't have to do that. It just made me, I was just, like I said, I thought of those questions as you were rereading them. They popped into my head, and I thought they were kind of interesting to think about, especially the second one, deep diving a little bit more into their way of thinking.
Yeah, no, definitely good talking points. I like Perrin. I get really frustrated with the concept of the Way of the Leaf, especially in this world.
Yeah.
Like, in the real world, like, I could see some merit to it, Nonviolence has its time and place, but
you could say those exact words about this world, too. It does have its time and place, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing about nonviolence as a resistance strategy is it relies on the aggressor having a moral conscience.
Yep.
Exactly. And when you have literal spawn of the devil coming at you.
The ones that have literal no conscience at all.
Right. So it doesn't work. It falls apart. Which I think Perrin recognizes. And it's, Perrin lives in a society, in a world in which violence is already an accepted language of interaction.
Yeah.
So it's to conceive of a way of life outside of that seems really difficult. Like it would be, you'd have to change everything. You'd have to change everything about the way that the world worked.
Yeah.
And it's
The Tuatha absolutely had to move through the world in complete and utter trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's probably why they're always moving.
Yeah.
So another thing that was brought up, and I feel like we have talked about this before in previous chapters. I think it's come up. But I always love when Robert Jordan does that thing where it's like, oh, they know the same songs, but they have a different name and different lyrics.
Yeah.
It's always a fun little
Mm-hmm.
world building touch.
Yeah, it makes me think of those clap games that we played in elementary
Yes,
school.
very much.
You know,
Yeah,
Miss Mary
exactly.
Mac.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
I've seen people from all different parts of the country. I've heard like 6 different versions of that song.
Or
Yep.
the
Miss
strange,
Susie.
bizarre phenomenon of violent songs about Barney the dinosaur
Yes.
that we all somehow knew,
Everyone
and
knew him.
there were ever so slight regional changes sometimes.
Yeah. The children crave murder.
It's, that specific phenomenon is so intriguing to me. I go down that rabbit hole like every couple of years, just
Mhm.
in my head. Like,
The thing
how
is
did we all do that?
each of those phenomenons, the violent Barney, the clapping games, and even the cool S. I think most of us can say that, like, for each generation, like in my case, was learned from an older sibling or cousin and then passed along to friends, who then became
Mhm.
the older siblings and cousins and passed them along, etc., etc. And that's how these things go, obviously. But the fact that every fucking kid in the U.S. knew that damn Barney song in some fucking way or other.
Well, and I've seen things online like it was international too. Like people that like barely had Barney on television in their country knew the violent songs about him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, the children crave violence.
They do crave violence.
And like we were, we're getting up there. We barely had internet at that point, and certainly
Right.
weren't talking to people online like that in elementary school.
No.
So it wasn't passed around like that.
No.
Memes still got passed offline. And it's
Mhm.
You
wild.
know, this is adding to my concept of the fucking dragons. I have been saying for 14 years that somehow every single culture has a dragon. Cultures that could never exist describing the exact same goddamn animals. Are dragons memes?
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, when does a meme become a legend, I guess?
Right. As the wheel of time turns.
Like
Is
the mythical S. What is that?
Is I Can Has Cheeseburger a legend now?
Yes, absolutely. It is.
It's a
It is.
game.
It is beyond meme.
Without it,
It is-
without
it is
playing
transcendent.
directly, the game is another reference to that.
Well,
Yeah.
we can't not play. I just
I
lost the
know.
game. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me
But that was another
rickroll you
one.
in retaliation.
Okay, but I like that song. So,
Right.
So do I. Who do we suppose is going to be our primary listening audience?
I don't.
I don't think kids play the game.
I mean,
Oh yes, they do.
Do they?
really,
Oh
it's still
my
going.
God, my nieces and nephews, I did not teach them the game, and I am in the game war with them. I'm very, very good at that. I have an alarm set for like 5 a.m. I change the day of the week, but I have an alarm set for 5 a.m. just before my nephew wakes up. One day a week, he just gets an auto sent. I just lost the game. So I get to him before anything else. So then I just get a text going, "God damn it," from like a 14-year-old. Freaking A, auntie.
Goes to show what I know, I guess. I don't talk to children very
Yes.
often.
No, the game is alive and well.
That's
Very, very much
shocking
alive
to
and
me. I
Yep.
figured that would purely stay entirely millennial.
It wasn't, because my sister played it and she's a Gen Xer.
Oh, I mean, she's on the cusp.
She is. It depends on who you say, but or who you ask about like the years and stuff.
She's a zennial with an
She's
X.
very much so. But yeah, so yeah, alive and well, absolutely alive and well.
Wow.
How do we feel about Aram being a little bitch boy?
I don't feel anything because I don't care. I don't care about him. He's not on my radar.
I get joy out of his little tantrum because I think it's probably I know it's from Perrin's observation, but I wish he'd been just a little bit closer to hear it because he got the sharp side of her tongue, and I would have loved to have heard what she said to him.
Because one thing about all of the men around Egwene is that they all try to control her, and she shows them every single time that it's not going to work. She's like, no, I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. So I'm going to go.
Is uncontrollable in the good way.
She does not put up with shit ever. And that's why she's my favorite.
Yeah, no, Nynaeve was your favorite.
No, I'm a hardcore Egwene stan.
I mean, I know you were, but I just thought Nynaeve was like a little bit above her.
Nynaeve is number 2. I love both of them.
My favorite is someone we haven't met yet, so.
Well, no. Perrin is number 2. Nynaeve is number 3.
Perrin's my number 2 as well. I like Perrin from the beginning. And throughout he's a little frustrating and bamboozling in a different way from Rand and Matt throughout the series. But I can dig it.
I thought he was so adorable in this chapter, actually. The blushing, stop. And every time
I love it.
They just kept going, and they would keep winking at him. Like
Robert Jordan nailed female behavior in that part because that is exactly what girls do. The second they suspect even the slightest bit of weakness, you are the target.
Right, like sharks. Like sharks.
Oh, sharks to the feasting, like sharks to the dead whale that Perrin was at that point. Seriously.
Yeah.
And again, Egwene, like, had Nynaeve been in that situation, she would have been in the corner sniffing at those women. But Egwene's like, no, let me try.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like, all the time, Egwene is just living her life.
Yeah. She wants experiences.
Yeah. She's having a fundamentally different experience to leaving Emond's Field than the boys do. It's fundamentally different because they were chased out.
Right.
She doesn't have anything chasing her. She chose to go because she wanted to. So all of the seeing different things and experiencing different cultures and all of that is what she wanted in the first place.
She could, and she knows she could part with Perrin at any time and remain safe. Really?
Like, I have to wonder if, like, had Moiraine not come to town and all of this happened and she had gone off and become a wisdom in another village, if that even would have been enough for her. Like, would she still have, would she have stayed just long enough to train up somebody to replace her and then left on her own, probably seeking out the tower herself?
It's possible.
I think she's absolutely... This is not a dig at Nynaeve, but she is smarter than Nynaeve in the fact that I think by the time she was her age, she would have figured out that what she can do was the one power on her own.
See, that I'm not sure.
I don't think she would have been in denial about it as vehemently as Nynaeve is.
I don't know that Egwene would have found out that she could touch the source without Moiraine being there, is the thing. So, like, I don't know if her goal would be Tarvalon, if not for Moiraine telling her that she had the ability.
I do believe that, but I think by the time she would reach Nynaeve's age, she would have grown enough in her power to suspect something. I guess something more in it, and even if it was to find out what it was and not even to like really train, I still think she would have left and gone to Tarvalon.
Yeah, she doesn't have the same distrust of Aes Sedai that Nynaeve does.
Or of outsiders. She showed a little bit of it very early on in the very, very, very early beginning, but not even anywhere near as close as what anybody else in town showed. So,
right.
I don't think, and while she is stubborn, she's not stubborn in the same way. I think that she would have remained open-minded enough
And
to
that's,
consider it at least.
if she survived the change.
Right. There is that too.
I related so heavily to Perrin also, just by having to wait. I mean, like, okay, when do we go? And Elias just keeps saying, something's telling me to wait. I was like, that would give me hives.
It's like when your parents said, because I said so.
No, that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
God,
Anything that you could, any detail that you could give me, any explanation other than because, it would give me hives. So like, me too, dude. I would be like foaming at the mouth, gnawing on the bars.
And Elias he doesn't seem the type to like, he's not Aes Sedai, right? He doesn't keep secrets to keep secrets and tell you lies that sound like truths.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if he knew something, he would have told Perrin, right? He told Perrin what he could. I don't know what it is. My instinct says we stay here for now.
Yeah, Elias is a very instinct-driven person.
Yes. And given the way he lives and clearly what his powers are in relation to the wolves, he kind of has to be. That's a very natural, nature-based, instinctive sort of gift he's got. So it makes sense. She doesn't have an opinion on that one.
Yeah. It would just give me bees in my brain.
So you'd be like, what do you mean?
Yeah. What? No. Okay. Waiting for what?
I don't know. Whereas I feel like in that relationship, I would be Elias. Me and you would just be fighting the whole time.
I mean, I wouldn't argue, but I would get snippy. I would get shorter and shorter and be like, I don't know.
What are we waiting for? I don't know.
Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. I'm ready to go. But you say we have to wait, so I guess we're fucking waiting. And I would just get more like that. So.
Meanwhile, we'll just be out there taking notes on the drag show that is the Tuatha one.
I would be Egwene in that situation.
You would,
like I would just,
of course,
I'd be out dancing. Like
you're like, you two figure it out. Let me know when we're leaving.
Yeah. It's like, we don't have to, ration our hardtack the whole way.
Right.
We can actually, it might be vegetarian, but at least I get some stew.
I guarantee you Isla stuffed those packs with food. Guaranteed.
Oh, probably. I don't remember if it mentioned. I don't know. I didn't take note of that in my.
I don't think they take food with them.
But,
they don't state whether they do or not, so we don't know for sure. So my headcanon is she stuffed their packs with food.
Okay, hold on to that then. Hold on to that for like an hour from now.
Yeah, I will. On it.
Yeah, and also I know in a previous episode, I did say I wasn't sure if it ever said it specifically in the text that they are vegetarian. It does in this chapter. It says
yes,
flat out they don't eat meat in this chapter.
Yep, I saw that too.
Yep. I
appreciate that even sensing like the urgency in it, Rain still wanted to have a goodbye feast. Like, that is such Midwestern grandma.
I almost started reading like Rain's quotes and stuff with your accent.
You should have.
Should have just thrown in some don't ya knows.
From now on, they are 100% Norwegian Midwestern. They are my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
Mid to southern Minnesota accent. Maybe a little thicker. Maybe they're from up north. Thicker the accent.
Yeah. It's when we go to visit family and I'm like, we say it's time to go. And then I'm waiting, fully clothed, shoes on, bag packed at the door. And I stand there for 20 minutes.
Which also, I just have to throw in, there are so many things that Midwesterners claim are unique to them. And I'm just like, we did that in the South too.
I'm sure.
Like Southern goodbyes are exactly the same thing as Midwestern goodbyes. I just called it Midwestern goodbye because that's the more common term.
Right. That's actually something that's always really, really bothered me because I'll see the same thing happen. Southerners will claim something that I fully experienced in my entire upbringing and life in Minnesota.
Like, they are just
And-
very similar cultures.
I mean, probably because it's the same people. They just went to different places.
Yeah.
No. We're Norwegian, they're French. Totally different. They eat snails, we eat lutefisk.
Okay.
Have you ever
eat
had?
bugs?
Have you ever had?
You eat
lutefisk?
guts? I don't know.
It is the absolute worst.
I have not. It sounds horrendous to me.
I grew up in the most stereotypical Minnesota Lutheran upbringing you could have possibly imagined, with the exception that my family directly was not particularly religious. We didn't go to church every weekend or anything. I wasn't baptized, anything like that. But fucking funerals or baptisms for other family members or whatever, anything that was a potluck, there was at least one lutefisk dish there. Never did I touch it. It was the one food my mom never forced on me. And this was the same woman that made me eat pea soup. So
Yeah, I will say, I think our church potlucks were probably a bit superior in Alabama.
Will, I had to reach out to your grandmother through your sister to get a proper mac and cheese recipe.
Yeah, that's true.
So yes. Yes. Potlucks at like churches and stuff in Minnesota, it's like little ham and cheese sandwiches. And then like a handful of various potato salads, egg salads, the lutefisk every now and then, and a fruit salad bowl.
I feel like
And
at
cookies.
every church potluck we ever had, at least 5 different people would bring fried chicken. 4 of them homemade, 1 from KFC.
Doesn't fucking matter. Fried chicken is fried chicken. Can I assume that was
Pentecostal.
Baptist? I know very little about Pentecostal.
Yeah.
One of my best friends growing up was actually Baptist, and they weren't Southern, they were German, but they were Baptist, and they ate like stereotypical Baptists at their church. So,
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, that culture is pretty similar.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we got a little off track.
Just a touch. Let's see. Was there anything else? This wasn't the meatiest of chapters.
No,
No.
mine isn't either. Honestly,
Yours is also short as hell. I didn't.
oh my god, I was so relieved.
Yeah.
I literally was jokingly gonna just write down 5 lines of summary originally.
I mean, yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay. So, chapter 28. The title of this chapter is Footprints in the Air, and once again, the chapter icon is Moiraine's staff. This is a Nynaeve chapter, and we begin as she, Moiraine, and Lan reach White Bridge. Nynaeve is in awe of the bridge, calling it another legend, but believes the others would think less of her for her amazement when they seem to think nothing of it. She decides not to stare as they ride towards the bridge. Looking back over the last few days of travel, since she had found Moiraine and Lan that first morning, conversation had been wanting, to say the least. Moiraine would make attempts to talk Nynaeve into going to Tar Valon, but she wouldn't tell her anything of substance about their present pursuit. She personally thought that she would go to Tar Valon for her own personal reasons of protecting her Edmundsfield litter, as well as perhaps exacting revenge if Moiraine had harmed any of them. But otherwise, their talk was next to non-existent. Nynaeve was frustrated with what she thought was Moiraine's vague answers to her questions. She once asked how she meant to find the others. Moiraine replied that she will know when she is close to the 2 who've lost their coins. But the longer they're apart, the closer she will need to be. She then went on to say that the one who still has the token she gave him, she could track halfway across the world if she had to. Nynaeve asks what she'll do once she finds them, to which she's answered, bring them to Tar Valon. Nynaeve goes on a small rant about that's all Moiraine ever talks about, and Moiraine shoots back calmly that learning to control her temper will be a part of her Tar Valon training, as she can do nothing with the One Power otherwise. Then, in the same breath, tells Lan that she must speak to them, effectively ending the conversation. This was typical of Moiraine as they journeyed, bypassing all Nynaeve's questions and traps. It made her angry, and Moraine's calmness only made it worse. Lan was less of a problem, and Nynaeve felt the journey would have been better if it were just the two of them without Moiraine. If only there was some way to get rid of the woman. Lan would be better by himself. A warder should be able to handle what was needed, she told herself hastily, feeling a sudden flush. No other reason. But one meant the other, and yet Lan made her even more furious than Moiraine. She couldn't understand how he managed to get under her skin so easily. He rarely said anything, sometimes not a dozen words in a day, and he never took part in any of the discussions with Moiraine. She goes on to observe that he's usually scouting or silently writing and watching the women verbally spar, to which Nynaeve wished he wouldn't. This had been the way of their travels socially, but there was something more to be focused on, because by the end of the first day, Nynaeve had grown restless, fidgeting in her shadow and looking over her shoulder. The quiet of the world was suppressing, and she could tell that both Lan and Moiraine felt it too. They were growing more tense under their cool outward surfaces. Moiraine was listening for what wasn't there, and Lan was even more watchful and observant of their surroundings. He tried to downplay whatever it was they were all feeling when Nynaeve brought it up, stating that it was nothing, and then immediately attempts to get her to go back to Eamon's Field when they reached Whitebridge. He told her it would be too dangerous and nothing would stop her from going back. Moiraine once more tells Lan that she's a part of the pattern, and then, for once, explains something to Nynaeve. She tells her that what they're all feeling is the Dark One. They're out of the storm for now, but his watch on the world in general is stronger. Lan continued to scout ahead, but it was now Moiraine that chose their path. Footprints in the air, or the scent of memory. With a start, Nynaeve pulled out of her thoughts. They were at the foot of the White Bridge. The pale arch shone in the sunlight, a milky spiderweb too delicate to stand, sweeping across the air now. The weight of a man would bring it crashing down, much less that of a horse. Surely it would collapse under its own weight any minute. Lan and Moiraine rode unconcernedly ahead, up the gleaming white approach and onto the bridge, hooves ringing. Not like steel on glass, but like steel on steel. The surface of the bridge certainly looked as slick as glass, wet glass, but it gave the horses a firm, sure footing. Nynaeve made herself follow, but from the first step she half waited for the entire structure to shatter under them. If lace were made of glass, she thought, it would look like this. As they draw across to the other side, they notice the smell of char and burnt things. Then they see that several buildings in the square at the foot of the bridge had been burned down. Soldiers were patrolling with an impression of hesitation, and the few citizens about were hunched and scurrying. In a moment, Moiraine is off of Aldib and moving among the wreckage and people. The people, who were giving Lan a wide berth, found themselves talking to Moiraine and her quiet, serene-like presence. That being said, they still lie about what happened. Some say burning buildings. A man said an overturned lamp started it, but no two buildings side by side had been burnt. Another, a man in town meddling with the One Power, did it, and it was time to get the Red Aja in there. Dark friends rioting on their way to see Logain being paraded about. Bandits. Others simply mentioned vague trouble that come on a boat. We showed them, a narrow-faced man muttered, scrubbing his hands together nervously. Let them keep that kind of thing in the borderlands where it belongs. We went down to the docks and... He cut off so abruptly his teeth clicked. Without another word, he scurried off, peering back over his shoulder at them as if he thought they might chase him down. The boat had gotten away, cutting its ties and fleeing downriver only the day before as a mob had started up. One woman even said there'd been a gleeman on the boat. Nynaeve suggests to Moiraine that some of her litter may have been on that boat as it fled. Moiraine, for once, hears Nynaeve out and allows that it may be so, but is clearly doubtful. They enter an inn that is still standing in the square, the common room divided into two. As they enter, Moiraine smiles and feels the air with her hand, but says nothing. They eat in silence, and as they finish, a soldier, who Lan clearly has opinions about, and who's looking like he's acting how he thinks a soldier should act, enters and asks them their business and how long they're staying. Lan replies that they are leaving as soon as he's done with his drink. Nynaeve thinks that the soldier moves as though he might make an attempt to do something stupid to prevent himself from looking like a coward in front of the ladies, but he changes his mind. Instead, he says, See that you do. Too many strangers around these days for the queen's peace. And stomps out. Nynaeve asks if they're going after the boat, and Moiraine says they must first go after the one that she can track. She doesn't think the other two fled on the boat anyway. Goes on to say that those two had been in that very room no more than 2 days ago. They left alive. Afraid, but alive. Nynaeve asks if she knows which two, and if they're so close, why not go after them first? Moiraine states that she only knows they were here, and she doesn't know which direction they went, though hopefully they're smart enough to have gone east to Camelin. She adds that without their tokens, she'd need to be within half a mile to find them, and in 2 days they could have gone 40 miles in any direction. Lan then adds that they had reason to be afraid. Lowering his voice, he says that a half-man had been there, and he can still smell him. Nynaeve then says that she wants to find the boys too, but she also wants to find Egwene, and Moiraine never mentions her and ignores her when she asks. Moiraine grows cold and angry, and Nynaeve's own hackles go up in response, as Moiraine replies that she too hopes to find Egwene alive and well, as she doesn't easily give up young women strong in the power when she finds them. Nynaeve wonders to herself if she is one of those young women. With their meal finished, they leave Whitebridge, heading down the road to Camelin, and that is the end of our chapter.
I love the way you describe Nynaeve referring to the Nynaeve thinking of the kids as her litter.
You know, I'd gotten a Nynaeve chapter before as well, and I struggled, like, just keep continuing to call them the Edmondsfielders or the kids or whatever just bothered me. Calling them her litter makes the most sense because that's exactly what they are.
Yeah. Her wayward flock.
Yes. So from now on, that is how I will be referring to them when I have a Nynaeve chapter. Just so you guys know.
It makes sense from her perspective.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. They are.
Yeah. I mean, you soft launched it when you referred to Egwene and the boys as litter mates. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that, but yeah. Flock never crossed my mind. I went straight to litter. They are a basket of kittens and puppies.
I mean, the sheep reference is right there.
It really is, but they are not frolicking lambs. They are stupid puppies. They are puppy stupid. All three boys are puppy stupid, and we know that.
And Egwene's a curious kitten.
Uh-huh. So there's not like a ton in this chapter. Really, this chapter's, I guess, in my opinion, to just sort of show the dynamic between her and Moiraine, and also to, set them on the correct path for finding the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was interesting to me how much detailed description we got about Whitebridge, the bridge, not the town.
Yes.
This second time we're there.
So that's why I put in the direct quotes, because I actually really, really liked Nynaeve's observation of it, especially that if lace were made of glass, this is what it would look like. Like, I love that line so much. That is poetry to me, which is why I absolutely had to have it in there. But yes, I think all of Whitebridge, the town, not the bridge, should in fact look like that. I think that would just have made the effect even cooler, in my opinion. I almost added town, not the bridge jokes in there, by the way.
I was hoping you would.
I chose that. I didn't want to steal Flint's bit.
No, by all means.
Callbacks are always welcome.
I was going to say, people aren't even going to know what that means until episode 8 comes out anyway.
It had nothing to do with that. I just didn't want to steal the bit. But I was thinking it. Every time I wrote it, I was thinking it. Every single time.
No, absolutely. Please, it's common property of the podcast. It's totally fine. Because that's what I was thinking too.
Yes, all bits are communal here.
They got to Whitebridge. He's talking about the bridge, not the town. And then Whitebridge, the town, not the bridge, is charred. Oh.
And then they left Whitebridge, the bridge, and the town.
Correct. Both are behind them now.
Okay.
Only one is smoking, though.
Only one is smoking. I love that fucking everybody lies, and every lie was different. But the one that got me, the one that I quoted, the narrow-faced man, that had to be what's his face from Doman's ship.
Florin Gelb. I
Yes.
was thinking the
I
exact
have
same thing.
always thought that was Gelb because he cuts off, he like gets scared and he bolts.
Mm-hmm.
It had to have
I'm
been
almost
Gelb.
certain it's him.
I
I'm
didn't even make
convinced
that
it is.
connection, but yeah, that would
Because they
make
definitely would
sense
have
what it
left him
was.
behind in town.
Because
Mhm.
immediately after that paragraph, the next one says the boat got away. That is for certain, cutting its moors in the night and fleeing downriver as a mob was forming on the dock.
Yeah.
You know, Gelb was. We already know that Gelb is an ass saver, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to do his best to blend in with whatever side he thinks is winning.
Well, and I think he was also the one stirring up the mob against.
I'm sure
Doman
that
and
once
them.
the battle happened, once the fight started, I'm sure that he was the one that told everybody.
Oh
that
yeah,
they came on the spray.
He probably saw, was clear as day, saw what happened between the half men and the boys and Tom, and pointed and said it was those people and they came on this ship. And that was also his way of getting back at Doman and the crew.
Yep. But Doman is too smart for that. He's too fast.
Yep.
Too bad.
Mm-hmm.
He lives. The spray survives.
It does. I like that they ended up in the same inn.
Mm-hmm.
That conveniently the inn was one of the buildings in the square that didn't burn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that I didn't specifically mention it in my summary, but the fact that they were afraid in the inn, that fear and that emotion is exactly why she was able to tell they had been there.
Yeah. She's tracking the vibe.
Yep, exactly.
The vibe is off here.
Yep.
They were here.
Yeah, this is definitely, and this is very much a symptom of it being the first book. This is much more hand wavy than a lot of the magic description throughout the series. Like, knowing what I know of how the one power works in the future, I'm like, how exactly, like, I guess it relates to some other things they do in the future, but it feels like one of the things that he hadn't fully nailed down how the magic system works yet.
Mm-hmm.
So Moraine's just kind of doing whatever he wants her to do.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I related to Nynaeve as well. Would have driven me insane.
Oh my
hey,
god.
Answer my fucking questions.
Yep.
Right.
More so for me in Nynaeve's position, I would have been irritated there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But every time she got worked up, again, something I skipped over in the summary, Moiraine just ignored her. Every time. There's literal quotes in there about she would start yelling and Moiraine would just completely ignore her until she stopped. But I feel like, unlike a lot of Nynaeve's, tempers going up, in this case, it did not feel like an unwarranted tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's an adult. She's traveling with you. Keep her up to fucking date.
Yeah, is the least you could do.
It is.
Because she's not...
Especially since you want her to go with you.
Right. Mm-hmm. You want her to trust you, and clearly she has a brain and she's using it.
Right.
So you might as well work with that.
Would she have treated another fully fledged Aes Sedai like that? Even a brand new one? Probably not. She might have a little bit, but like not to that extent is what I'm getting at. So yeah.
It seems to me like she's very much treating Nynaeve as a novice, even though she's not one yet.
Right. I can see that.
Right. She's already decided that's Nynaeve's journey from
like you are going to join the tower. I may as well go ahead and start treating you like it now.
I can see that.
Yeah, it seems like Lan has grown kind of protective of Nynaeve in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get her to safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether that's, because she's a distraction or I don't know.
Anything else. Yeah. Yep, he has.
Also, the way that she has a crush on him is so funny.
Like, it's so obvious.
Like everything else,
Yeah.
she will not admit it because it's a
Mm-mm.
weakness. To her, it's a weakness.
No chance, no way. I won't say it. No, no.
Mhm. Exactly.
One of the greatest Disney songs of all time.
Absolutely.
That movie had so many goddamn bangers, and 2 of my top 5 Disney songs came out of that movie. So
It's all that flavor they put in it.
Hmm.
I was struck by how many. It seems like Nynaeve's experience as we're going through her chapter or going through her point of view. I'm seeing like parallels both to her as she was before, or like how other people were like she was, and how she is like the others. Right. Once she's told that she has the ability to use the one power, she refuses. It's like she will not accept that.
right,
She's refusing that calling. She
as
already has
Perrin
one.
is
She
refusing
already has
his,
one. Right. What did you say?
as Perrin's been refusing his with the wolves.
Right.
Yeah.
As Perrin has been refusing, as Rand is still not accepting, kind of whatever. It's all of these refusals of the calling. Nynaeve has a little bit better of a reason because she's already found one. She already has a job.
Yeah.
She already has a responsibility and a role that she's pursuing, but she also, like the others, ignores this new one at her peril,
Mhm.
apparently. Right? Like if she
Yeah.
does not get the training, then she'll go insane and then die and all of her bones will break or something.
No, because Nynaeve is past that point.
Oh, okay.
She's, Moiraine said 3 out of 4 women will go insane and die.
Hmm.
Nynaeve is the 1 out of 4 who's already on the other side of that.
Oh.
She just, without training, won't be able to intentionally tap into it. It would always be subconscious for her,
Yeah.
like it
Mhm.
has been.
Hmm. Okay. Well, still, the refusal again of something higher is still interesting to me.
Yeah.
And then, like at the very end, when she wants to know why they won't go after the others, and Moiraine says she has to go with with who she knows she can find, is just what Nynaeve said when Rand asked her to heal Tam. Right? She's
Right.
like, I have to focus on who I know that I can help, and I can't help him, so I have to
Yeah.
focus on what I can.
Yep.
Yeah, and this chapter ultimately feels like a lot of repeat beats from the
Yeah.
last Nynaeve perspective.
Yep.
And Rand's chapter in Whitebridge. And yeah,
Honestly,
again,
it
not a lot of
feels-
meat to this one
no.
either.
It kind of just feels like if this were a movie, if the films, it would just be a quick cutaway to show where they're at on their part of their journey before we cut back to other characters who
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
like more meaty chapters going on. It's like, oh, this is where they're at. They are now, 2 days behind the ones who were here before.
Right.
They're catching up, basically.
Yeah. It also, if my ebook page count is accurate, is 7 pages long.
Mine says 17, but I'm
Oh,
on
did
my
it?
phone. I'm not reading on a tablet, so it's different, I think.
I'm reading it on my laptop here.
Yeah,
Mm,
so
I don't know.
on my phone with my font settings and whatnot, it was 12 pages.
yeah, so
Either way,
it alters. It's different
skimpy.
per.
On audiobook, it was 18 minutes.
Less time than we spend summarizing a chapter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
We've done 2 chapters. We're an hour in.
Which is honestly good time for us.
It really is. It helps that my chapter was super short, and neither one of our chapters were super meaty.
Yeah.
So.
Well, get ready.
I know it.
I was gonna say. Yeah. Sick.
Do we have anything else for this one?
No.
Yeah, let's jump into Flint's crazy times.
Yeah, please. Chapter 29 is called Eyes Without Pity, and it has a wolf as the chapter icon. Whether this just means that it's a Perrin POV now, or whether the wolves will stop if or when they leave Elias, I'm not sure. But it is another chapter from Perrin's point of view. A little Perrin naive Perrin sandwich. Never mind. I don't like that. Anyway, Elias is making runners, making track stars out of Perrin, Egwene, and Queen Bella. But he's also taking new precautions, only making fires where dead wood already was, keeping the fires small and in tiny pits that he covers the moment they no longer need them, ensuring no trace of them can be found before they leave, and so on. Egwene asks once if it's Trollocs after them, but thanks to his furry powers, Perrin already knows it's not that, because the wolves would have seen or smelled them. Elias is stressed the fuck out, and to be honest, it's stressing me the fuck out also. But the wolves can sense it too, and they begin scouting ahead and behind as the humans travel through land transformed into low hills. Elias complains a bunch about the pace and the method of travel, going around a bunch of hills and whatnot, as though both were not literally his idea. But when Egwene points this out, he just lectures her. Men, whatever. And all of this as well, he still hasn't told them exactly what he's so worried about. Sometimes, when passing over ridges that are too long to go around, Elias would have Perrin and Egwene wait at the bottom while he scouts the top until he's satisfied, and then he would motion for them to come along as well. The waiting is killer, though. So the third time it happens, Perrin says he'll scout with Elias, who just tells him to stay low. At the top, Perrin sees only a bare slope and a clump of trees. No Trollocs or Murdral at all. No movement. Perrin says they're wasting time and goes to stand when a whole fucking cascade of ravens bursts from the trees circling around. The Dark One is looking for them. The flock that came from the trees in front of them goes south, joined by another. Perrin eventually manages to work up enough spit to wet his mouth to speak and asks Elias if that's what he's been so afraid of. Elias says no, but before he can say much more, a third flock appears and goes south as well. Elias notes that they're all searching, meaning they don't know where Perrin is, even after the dream he had. He calls to the wolves to check the trail that the humans have left behind, seeing if the ravens will be able to track them that way. Hurry, he says. Watch the sky. Hurry. Concerned about a possible pincer attack by the ravens, Elias wants them to get moving again to the destination he's been pushing toward. He beckons Egwene up, who asks what happened, and Perrin tries to explain, but the story gets disjointed and interrupted by questions. They get to another ridge that this time they would have normally gone over, but with ravens ahead of them, Elias wants to scout this one, so they don't end up right in the middle of them. At the top of this hill, Perrin sees nothing for a moment and sighs in relief. Then a fox bursts from the trees, and ravens follow close behind, their wings almost entirely covering up the fox's whining. Warning for animal cruelty, by the way, like inflicted on animals by animals. Anyway, the ravens descend, and though the fox tries to defend itself, the ravens remain untouched, their beaks glistening. Bloodied, the fox turns back toward the trees, but the ravens descend again. When they take wing this time, all that remains of the fox is a lump of torn fur. Good God. No time to dwell. They have to keep moving. Egwene comes up with Bella, sees the fox, and looks like maybe she's about to pass out, which, me too, actually. Traumatic as fuck, stressful as all hell. Are we in hell already right now? Gotta keep running. But Perrin trips over himself because he's already going as fast as he can. Just then, one more raven, a straggler, comes out of the trees, screaming before heading for the rest of them ahead. Perrin fumbles with his sling just to watch the raven fold in midair and drop to the ground. Period, Egwene. Knock that son of a bitch right out the sky. Snitches get stitches, babe. Or straight up murdered, I guess. To the west of them, yet another flock of ravens rises like black mist into the air. The wolves pass that direction on their way north to check the back trail, and they notice ravens on both sides. The ravens seem to follow the wolves for a moment before going south with the rest. Egwene asks if they've been spotted from that far away, and Elias only replies that they could see the ravens from the same distance. But before anybody can spiral too much, he points out that if they had been seen, they would have been on them like the ravens were the fox. That poor fox, by the way, I'm genuinely so upset about that. That doesn't feel necessary. Elias gets them moving again, and their pace becomes erratic now. Get to the next hill, wait for the ravens to move ahead, run, wait, run again. All of them now, except Elias, are struggling heavily, though fear is motivation enough. Perrin wishes that the wolves would tell them if ravens were behind them, but all they can do is keep going. Once they had to stand frozen in the open, half a mile away from the nearest cover, while 100 ravens flew by them barely a mile to their east. Taking down stragglers, they continue past further evidence of the ravens' brutality: rabbits, other birds, more foxes. Perrin remembers that Lan had said that all the Dark One's creatures delight in killing, and wonders if they can also call more of their kind, maybe the hundreds also hunting? Suddenly, Perrin's terrified imaginings are swept away by images from the wolves, who had in fact found ravens behind them. A fight ensues, and though the wolves do get injured, the ravens give up and move on. Dapple warns them that though they're coming, now from behind, so are the ravens. Elias and Perrin look at each other, and Perrin knows he's waiting for him to admit to his furry powers, which he does, and it makes him want to run away from all of them. Truly exhausted now, they keep going, and Egwene makes Perrin get on Bella, but that doesn't last long, and she's so tired she doesn't even protest when Perrin picks her up to put her back in the saddle. Elias refuses to slow down, though, keeping them so close behind the ravens that Perrin keeps thinking that one bird looking behind would be all that it took. They scurry, and the ravens hunt ahead and behind. Perrin asks the wolves how long it'll take for their tail to find them, but wolves actually have no concept of time. Like, to a wolf, what the fuck even is an hour? What is that? Nonetheless, Perrin is able to piece together an estimate. 1 hour, maybe less. 1 hour before death by 1,000 pitch-black needles, with 2 hours to sunset, dark, safety while the ravens roost. Touching his axe, Perrin knows that he wouldn't be able to fend off that many ravens. Elias also knows because he can talk to the wolves, but Egwene doesn't know about the tailing ravens. Perrin agonizes over whether to tell her that it's hopeless, that death is coming for them, and hopes that he might have the courage to kill Egwene himself and save her from the fox's death. Fear will kill you if you don't control it, Elias had told them at one point. Too bad Perrin isn't fucking listening. Just then, the ravens disappear, and Perrin feels a chill travel through him like a ripple, carrying away some of his fatigue. Elias knows where they are, he can tell. Egwene and Bella are also feeling the effects of whatever just happened to them, and Egwene wonders at it before Elias starts cackling. They've made it. They've made it to safety, just as Perrin was fully ready to kill his fucking friend. A place no raven carrying the Dark One's pitiless eyes will go. No Trolloc or Fade, not even Aes Sedai, since the one power doesn't work here. It doesn't look much different, though, from the land they'd been traversing. Egwene asks again what this place is, and Elias tells them that it's a steading, a legendary haven where one can hide from just about anything, including Aes Sedai and the Dark One's minions. They're not done moving yet, though. Further in is water, and even though Perrin wants to wait right there, there's no food. Furthermore, other people do know about this place, and nothing will keep people themselves out if they have a mind to enter. Elias calls again to the wolves to hurry, and tells Egwene and Perrin that it's only another mile or two, which is so funny of him, actually. Just 1 or 2 more miles. You're fine. But on they go, over the low hills, eventually coming up upon boulders and stones covered in lichen, and finally a pool of water. They throw themselves into it eagerly, and Perrin shakes his wet hair, splashing Egwene, who grins and splashes him back. But Perrin can't look at her, knowing what he'd been preparing to do, as a small voice taunts him. They get started making a meal, and Perrin knows Egwene is worrying about him, but he can't bring himself to meet her eyes. Eventually, the relief at safety falls away, and they eat in somber silence as the sun dips lower. Perrin hears the taunts in his head again, curling in on himself as he recognizes the voice for what it is: himself. Elias built the fire for them against a huge rock sticking out of a hillside, of which some round shape can be seen, covered by old brown moss. Perrin is too wrapped up in himself to think about what the carvings in the rock might mean, but Egwene eventually points out that it looks like an eye. It is an eye, actually, the eye of the High King, Arthur Hawkwing. Egwene insists to know what his eye is doing on a rockway out here in a steading, and Elias bemoans her bumpkin ignorance. He explains that Arthur Paindrag Tanreal united all the lands from the Great Blight to the Sea of Storms, from the Aerith Ocean to the Aiel Waste, and beyond both ocean and waste. He brought peace, justice, and equality, as Egwene notes, but Elias says that Hawkwing's justice came by fire and sword, as unforgiving as stone for any who challenged his power. He laid siege to Tar Valon for 20 years, and put 1,000 crown bounty on the head of every Aes Sedai. When he got sick, one of their healers might have helped him, but they were stuck in Tar Valon, fending off his army, and he hated them besides. None of this so far, you might notice, actually explains what his eyeball is doing out here, but he's not done. Hawkwing decided that he needed a capital, unconnected from previous causes, factions, or rivalries, and he decided to build it in the steading that they're sitting in. A capital from which he would administer his justice to the entire world. When they heard this proclamation, the people who loved him, and there were many, put money up to build a monument to him that took 5 years to carve and build, 100 times his size. They raised the statue there in the steading to be the centerpiece of the new capital. But Hawkwing died the day the statue was finished, and all of his kin fought over who would sit his throne atop the entire world. So the statue stood alone. Eventually, his sons and nephews and cousins died, and his lineage disappeared. Books mentioning him were burned, and by the time of Egwene, Perrin, and Elias, all that was left of him were the legends. The fighting didn't stop with his bloodline, however, because there was still a crown to be claimed. The War of the 100 Years burned countless towns, and though many lords got part of his domain, none got all of it. The statue was eventually pulled down, and for all of the things that Arthur Hawkwing accomplished, all that remains now are the stories and this massive stone eye. Egwene says that at first Elias sounded like he hated the High King, but now that he admired him, and Elias just stares at her because what the hell is even that? He tells them to get more tea because he wants the fire out before dark, and Perrin looks at the eye, noting how in dusk's shadows it looks like a raven's eye. He wishes they could sleep somewhere else than next to the Eye of Sauron, and the chapter ends.
Eyes Without Pity is such a banger chapter title,
Yeah.
but also
Jesus.
it could have been called Damn Nature, You Scary.
Damn, nature. By the way, horrible PR for Ravens, this chapter. Horrible PR. Ravens don't do this.
Well, ones possessed by the devil are.
Yeah, assuming the devil exists. I mean, he does here. But yeah, horrible PR for them. Like
that poor goddamn fox.
Because
I mean, isn't
yeah? So I wanted to cry actually.
It's
because I'm a bleeding
rough.
heart.
And the idea of Perrin trying to save Egwene from that fate by taking her out himself, like, oh,
yeah,
the weight of that.
Heartbreaking. And then he can't even look at her afterwards.
Right, he's so like ashamed or disgusted with himself.
Yeah. Like he had to work himself up to that point and then try to drop it.
Yeah, immediately afterwards, they're fine.
Yeah. After he goes to the worst possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, in his defense, though, that would be very valiant of him, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I would much rather be taken out
with a big axe
than pecked to death.
Right. I love that, like, Elias is like, we're moving too slow. Well, this is your decision. Quiet, you're too loud.
Right.
But so loud that he can be heard.
Yeah, from a mile away. Yeah.
Am I remembering correctly that a group of ravens is called a conspiracy?
That is so yes. That's one of their two names. There is another one. I believe they have two. I know vultures have a name depending on if they're in the air or on the ground.
But yeah, no, these are some conspiratorial ass ravens.
Yeah. Spooky as fuck.
And unkindness. That's the other one for ravens.
Well.
That's so funny, actually. Like, aw.
I mean, it fits this chapter.
Yeah. And they really don't deserve that. Like, because ravens are so smart.
They are.
And they just are just like vibing. But it's like people who say they don't know the difference between a crow and a raven. I'm like, that's because you've never seen a raven.
Yeah, they big.
They're huge.
I've never seen one in person.
I have seen them, but crows are also fucking huge. At least
They're pretty big.
So we have turkey vultures and crows in our area. Like literally there's a turkey vulture that likes to roost on a roof the next like a block away from me. And the crows are almost as big as that son of a bitch. So
Yeesh.
yeah, and ravens are bigger. There's neat little ways to tell them apart. Ravens, for example, hop when they walk, but crows don't.
Oh, okay.
So like a crow will strut, but like a raven, it's something like strut, strut, hop, or hop, hop, strut, or something like that. There's more hops than struts. They're bigger. Their furs, they're a little more spiky down the back, and the way their beak curves is different as well.
Yeah.
But
I think
to give you some reassurance, Flint, it is implied at points that it isn't all ravens that are evil. There are just specific ones that have come under the Dark One's control. However, unfortunately, that is literally never relevant, and we only ever see evil ravens because that's what the plot calls for.
That's what serves the story. Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunate. Just, anybody listening, please do keep in mind that ravens don't act like this.
Yeah.
They do not.
They're not raptors. I did say dinosaur behavior, though.
Like,
after the fox, I was like, that's when they say that birds are like descended from dinosaurs.
What are those little tiny ones in Jurassic Park? The fucking swarm.
Oh my god!
It's giving that, but in the air.
Yeah. What are those called? I don't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
Right. Brutal chapter.
Yeah.
Also, RJ, the audacity of you to give us a fucking lore dump immediately after this brutal chase scene in the same chapter, like.
But just
I'm still reeling,
just like the
and you're trying to tell me the history of Arthur Hawkwing.
Just like the teasiest tease of a lore dump that leaves you wanting more. So when you cut off, you're like, what's next? I just think it's so goddamn funny that like the one time Perrin goes like up to the top of the hill, he thinks they're safe, he goes to stand. Oh, there's a raven.
And not like just one,
no
like
goddamn
hundreds.
Luck. That poor boy has no luck whatsoever.
Right. It's hundreds of ravens. Thousands, possibly.
Even Egwene outshoots it.
Yeah. Handled.
Done.
Meanwhile, just a few chapters ago when they got together, she wasn't even able to snare a rabbit or anything. Right. And she's come a long way.
I think that Nynaeve taught her to shoot her sling. Because I think having taken like Egwene under her wing at what we clearly see as a very young age, and the fact that Nynaeve has always felt the need to prove oneself, right? Especially being a woman, being young. She wanted to make sure Egwene could protect herself, I think. And I have a headcanon that Nynaeve taught her that. Because she's not a farm girl. She's not a hunter. So she is less likely to have learned the sling and to have like learned to snare. She probably knows the basics, especially with the snaring, but she grew up as the innkeeper's daughter. She's never had to worry about it necessarily and get better at it. So
she was the rich girl in town,
basically. So I've decided that that's why she was so fast, is because one of the best hunter trackers in town taught her.
Must have been.
Could have, yeah.
So remember, like an hour ago, when I said we were talking about how it didn't say whether or not they had taken food with them.
Yeah.
From
I did forget about that.
And it says there's nothing left but cheese and dried meat.
I completely forgot about that.
I didn't, because it was my chapter.
I know.
And I read it. And I took notes. God damn it.
Well, I knew what was coming when you said remind me in an hour. We'll bring that up in an hour. I knew it was coming.
Little breadcrumb there.
Love it.
The story about the High King himself, I thought was interesting for a number
Yeah.
of reasons.
Yeah.
Sort of, it's like a. I think he's trying to tell them a lesson, like give them a lesson of some kind. I don't know that they're getting it. But there's a lot to be pulled out of there. A lesson about, the nature of absolutism, for one,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
what it takes.
Arthur Hawkwing made the trains run on time.
Hmm. Hmm. But to do that, like absolutism and the benevolence of the single ruler relies on the moral fortitude of that ruler,
Yeah.
right? And if you challenge that, you see what happens when the ruler doesn't have that fortitude. You get the cruelty instead. And that's how it has to be in order for everything to be stable. Um, and you can try and delegate and things like that, but then, the danger is always there.
Yeah.
So absolutism centralizes. It has to. That's the only way for it to work, and that's why then when that ruler dies, it fractures into a
Mhm.
million pieces, or there's revolution or strife, because it's a lesson that humans never seem to learn. The danger of having one person prop up your entire system of government.
Yeah, I recently, like a couple months ago, watched the movie The Death of Stalin,
Hmm.
and reading this part reminded me very much of the aftermath there.
Yeah. Yep. That's just how it works.
Yep.
And it's the history of this is just patterns over and over again of the same decisions, the same consequences, and then the same outcomes. Like in the end,
Oh,
because
look,
people
history
die,
repeats itself.
right? It, it rhymes, we'll say. Like it.
Yeah.
You can see there's resonances because people approach the same problems. They tend to approach it the same way. It for whatever reason. So the solution to strife and discord is usually somebody with enough charisma and power and authority manages to centralize everything, and then everything is great because that person happens to be capable of doing that. But it's just that one person. That's why they could do that in the first place.
Right.
And so then when that person isn't there anymore, there's nothing left. It all depended on them. That's
Right.
why more egalitarian systems are viewed as more stable, because then that doesn't happen that way.
Right.
That's one. The second, perhaps, is I don't know. There's something there about, despite everything that he managed to accomplish, all that's left of him are stories, most of which aren't even true. And this stone eyeball, like there's something there.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not entirely sure what, because there are a bunch of reasons that this didn't end up working out. Right, whether it was because of his illness that killed him after 5 years, that could have been healed, but it wasn't. Um, and then
And
you know,
if we recall, it is mm, I can't remember if that was specifically stated already, so I'm gonna shut up.
check on that
We'll
in the book, and then you
Circle
can
back.
you can give us an update on that.
I mean, this is not the last time we hear anything about Arthur Hawkwing,
No.
so maybe I'll bring that up later.
Okay, that's fine.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but it is especially because, like, he says that people didn't like him then while he was alive and doing all of
Mhm.
this, but the common folk loved him, which is why he could do what he did, because he made it safe. you know
Mm-hmm.
but in order to do that, you have to be draconian in the punishment, essentially, right? Otherwise, it you get challenges, and then it fucks up the vision. But then it's when it comes to history and memory and legacy and legend, what is forgotten or unremembered even is just as, if not more important than what gets remembered. you
Mhm.
know
Yep.
um and that's every step of the process of remembering something and enshrining it in public memory, like building a memorial to him, right? Or building this monument to him. And then it gets taken down, perhaps because no matter how hard these people tried, they could not do what he did. And they got tired of measuring themselves against it, according to Elias's theory. So they took it down. And now it's gone.
Yep.
All that's left of him is this. And the legends, because they erased him. And they did that deliberately because they had already wanted to.
Mhm.
And so once he
Right,
was gone,
because
and as time passed, and perhaps his legacy was tarnished by the actions of his kin, I don't know.
well, he also mentioned his lineage crossing the Aerith Ocean and going off to
Mhm.
distant, unknown lands. So who knows what came of them?
Right.
Mhm.
Right. It's just it is kind of a hard switch from the stressful ass fucking everything else,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I
And then
was
all of
like
a sudden we're getting
breathing
campfire
heavy, my heart
stories.
was pounding, and then I have to sit here and get lore. Like, fine, I guess. But it is interesting to there's a lot of interesting stuff to pull out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, like the War of the 100 Years. I was like, not there's 100 years war here too. That's crazy.
But it was actually like, what was it, 123 years?
Yes, in the book it says 123. Actually, the 100 Years War here was like 112.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
So, and it was also a war of succession in part. So I was like, oh, look at that. I love when wars get to be so long that they just refer to them by how long they were.
Right.
Right.
The 30 Years War. Well, at least we know how long it lasted.
Yeah. On a slightly different shift of lore dumping, we learn about the steadings.
Mm-hmm. Not much, but
a little bit.
A little bit.
We're introduced, we were, and it's good that we got these 3 chapters together because we got a taste of it in my chapter.
Right.
Yeah.
That was where, Rain was hoping they would make it to a steading, and he was like, even Ogier have pots to mend and stuff.
Yep.
And then we find a steading, but it's an abandoned one, so
Right.
we don't.
But
we don't
what's
get to see
interesting
any
is
Ogier yet.
we learned that a steading is a place to hide from Aes Sedai, the Dark One, others in general.
Anything to
really
do
interesting.
with the true source, it seems.
Yeah.
Because I'm very interested to know what makes it that way, like how this works, because he says that the steading makes the Ogier more than the Ogier makes the steading. So like, what does that mean?
Right.
Where does it come from? Are these just like little pockets, or that appear over time, or yeah? So I'll be very interested if there's more info about this, to see how that works.
I know it's so stupid, but like, you want to know how I picture a steading is like the dome from the Simpsons movie.
Yeah.
Elias
like
does say Elias does say that this particular steading hasn't had any Ogier in it since the breaking of the world. So it's just kind of sat there for 3,000 years.
What that begs the question, why would they choose to abandon it?
And why haven't they ever come back?
Right.
Yeah.
But
why did nobody go until Hawkwing decided he was going to build his capital there?
Right.
At least.
Well, I think that was 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I think Hawkwing's time was 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes sense that he'd want to build his capital there, but
yeah, he hated Aes Sedai.
Right.
Why not center himself where no Aes Sedai would want to come?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of it as kind of like a fairy circle, actually.
Yeah.
You just kind of step through it, and you feel the energy change.
Right. What do you, Flint, think so far of what little bit we've heard of the Ogier?
I don't know that I think much at all. They seem kind of isolated. I suppose, given the connections that we've seen between them and the settings, maybe they live in them, or they maintain them so they live nearby.
Right.
Um, they tend to keep to themselves. He says they're not very hospitable, and I don't know if they have always been that way or if it's maybe because of the settings and them living in them or near them, or however that relationship is. They're
Mhm.
more attuned to things like the Dark One, um, to the Dark One and all of that. And so maybe that's why they're becoming less hospitable, or they are. Um, I don't know. There's there's not much for me to build an impression on.
Okay.
Um, so I haven't really thought much about it.
Oh, okay. I
But
asked because I know at this point, when I my first read through, I was like, okay, tell me more about them.
yeah,
But I want to know more about everyone, and you know that already.
yeah,
Like as soon as a new people are mentioned, a new group of people, I'm like, tell me
mhm,
more.
yeah,
Tuathawan or
yeah,
Aes Sedai or Ogier, whatever it is. I
yeah.
want all the lore and I want it immediately.
Yeah, I'm sure that if they met somebody, like if they met an Ogier, then I would be like more actively, I would immediately want to know more about them. But I
Right.
don't even have really any hints right now, like even in
Right.
an anthropological sense,
Yeah.
like because the sociology, the anthropology of the people, of the traveling people, is really fascinating to me. Like, how did they get to be this, and where do the songs come from? Are these like, how
Right.
long have they been passed down? All of that. Um, but this, I don't have any point of contact with them
Yep.
really, and so I think right now what I'm assuming is that I won't get any more details about them, and I'm not, so I won't waste time worrying about it. I won't waste time wondering until they meet somebody until they meet somebody
Fair.
that makes it then directly relevant to what's happening in the story.
That's
And then
entirely
I'll
fair.
get more, and then I can be like, well, this isn't enough.
Right. That's
That's
entirely
I think
fair.
I think that's where I'm at right now. I just assume
Yeah.
that if it's important to the story, it'll get told to me eventually.
Yeah.
Because also, if I ask questions, I'll just get told to read and find out. So what the fuck?
But we want to hear your theories. But yeah, no, we're very much still in the laying breadcrumbs. We're
Oh,
constantly getting
we are still
told new
entirely world
things.
building.
Yeah.
We are entirely world building still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'm enjoying that part. So
yeah.
I don't mind so much the breadcrumbs right now, because I assume eventually I'll find wherever the dinner table is, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Because like, why would they
The
mention it
the
if
picnic
it's not
basket.
gonna pick back up?
Right.
The picnic basket.
Hey, boo boo.
I don't think I have anything else on this chapter.
Yeah, I think we pretty well covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did note, I was like, this is now 3 chapters without Rand in them.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is, I don't know if it's the longest we've gone so far in the book without that. But
I think it has been because it's
it is
still
noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
it's still fairly recently that we've gotten any perspectives other than his.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think this is our first full Randless episode.
Mhm. Yeah. Al- Although I did laugh again when Perrin was with the girls who were dancing, and he was like, Rand would know what to do. Babe,
No.
are we
no.
talking about the
I
same
didn't
one?
know.
No.
Are we talking about the same Rand?
No, he would
I don't
not.
think we are. Somebody else. There's got to be some other one. Some other tall ass dude who you've been friends with since you were kids. There's got to be somebody else.
How about Will Alcine? He seems like he understands women.
Yeah, well, Perrin doesn't like him.
No.
Mm.
I'm sure none of them do.
Yeah. Oh, just again, how devastating for Perrin to be ready to kill Egwene. I can't even imagine
Right?
what it would
Yeah.
take to get to that point. The fear of your own mortal peril. Because as far as he knows, he doesn't know where they're going or how far away it is. At
Right.
that point, they hadn't found the setting yet.
Right. As far as he knows, it's going to take more than an hour.
Yeah, it's an hour. They're an hour away or less, and they're 2 hours from sunset. So those are the only points of reference that he has, and he's like,
Yeah.
I have. I can't let her die like the fox did, because Egwene didn't see the fox die. Perrin did.
Right. She
He
only
watched it
saw
happen.
the aftermath.
Yeah. Which is upsetting enough on its own, but he watched them descend and then leave behind a pile of fur.
Yep.
So, how horrible. How horrible. And then, yeah, they're fine. Like,
emotionally, we get dropped off a cliff at that point.
Yeah.
Because we
Very
are
much.
built up. There's no descent on that emotional climax. It is up, 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 drop. So,
and then you're like, oh, they're okay? It's fine. They're fine here. Everything's cool.
just like another mile or two, maybe max, but we're good.
Yeah. So was this just to make the journey of getting to the setting more exciting? Because I could have done without it. I didn't need this.
No,
this was stressful. I don't know that I needed this part.
This is absolutely one of the scenes that always sticks out in my memory the most about this book. Like, this is one of the most impactful ones for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all that I had to say.
Yeah.
It's, I think my chapter was a little bit longer, but it's still mostly, it's just running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they stop running.
And then we get a bit of lore.
Yeah, and then a little bit of history from someone who's not Moiraine, for once.
Yeah. I don't know, would Moiraine have told the story better? She's pretty theatrical.
She's got a gift for it. I don't know. Can we ask Rosamund Pike?
Tom would have told the story better. R.I.P. Tom, pour one out.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. I'm not over it. I don't think I ever will be.
Yeah. Well, so what are you hoping for moving ahead from here?
Well, because it seems like every person that we've seen, every point of view that we've gotten so far is somebody struggling with some aspect of their personal development. So I'll be interested to see how that progresses from here. I'm still not entirely sure. Like, I assume that Rand is supposed to be like the central character, or like the central protagonist, at least of this book. Maybe, I don't know. He's just the first one that we got that wasn't like a prequel, right? Or like a prologue.
Yep.
So I'm not entirely sure what his journey is, or what he's even chosen for. Any of them, really. But it so Perrin's thing with the furry powers, I would like to see him just kind of embrace it and kind of just go. Because he says he's been cursed, which means maybe that he already knows something about this, or that just doesn't want it. But it seems like there's a whole realm of ability and protection that could grant him that I don't see the reason to not take it. Yeah, and then Rand, like I said, I'm not entirely sure where his journey's even going. I'm not entirely sure what his development is developing toward, because Moiraine has not mentioned that he can channel. So I don't know. I don't know that he has anything to do with like the dragons or anything like that, right? Mostly, actually, surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, what I want most is a chapter from Matt's point of view. I'm tired of seeing him fuck up from other people's perspectives. I'm really trying to figure out what's going on in his head. That's what I'm most interested in now, especially with this fucking dagger that he's got, that he took from Shatter Logoth, when Moraine's first question after she heard who they were talking to, who they'd been with, was, "Did he give you anything?" Like, functionally, what is the difference between him giving you the dagger and you taking the dagger when he showed it to you?
Yeah, he was.
I think he's, yeah. So I'm interested to see whether he's like getting possessed anyway. Like his soul is being taken over, because that was the threat, right? If you take the stuff, if you accompany him to outside of Mashadar's power, which I'm thinking about this because I'm working on the transcript for that episode right now. So whether that's what's going on there, I don't know. But either way, I'm very interested because we also haven't had one from him yet. We're more than halfway through the book now, and we haven't gotten a chapter from his perspective yet. And if we're going to do everybody else, then,
We also still don't have an Egwene POV.
Or a Bella POV, to be quite honest. Yeah. So that's, I really am hoping that we'll get something from him eventually, to figure out what the fuck he's doing. Because, like, dude, you piss me off a lot, but there's got to be something there. There's got to be something. Please let there be something that explains what the fuck you're doing. So those are my hopes for the rest, at least the immediate or the rest of this book.
All right.
I look forward to seeing the next couple of chapters and Flint's response to them.
Great. I love that. I can't wait.
Not in like a ominous way, but
okay. That makes me feel better then.
If I hang on.
Yeah, I only peeked ahead at my next chapter a little bit, and I'm pretty sure I know what's coming there. I don't remember exactly what comes in the chapters after that.
Some of the chapters that stood out to me the most were coming up onto. And one of my favorite chapters in this book, and probably, I don't know if I'd say top 10, but top 20 in the whole series, is coming up as well. And I don't know if it's going to be in this next episode or the one after, but it'll be in one of those two. But because I like this part of this book so much, this upcoming part, I'm really excited to see how Flint reacts to it.
Oh, okay. Well, we won't have to wait that long to find out, will we?
Yep.
All right. Well, is that everything for today?
I think so.
All right.
I think it
so is. Next episode is chapters 30, 31, 32?
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
If I'm counting right.
I know.
I think I am.
I literally
guess.
Just looked at the chapter list and counted 3 times to make sure I had the correct chapter for me.
Right. Yeah, no, I guessed. And then Will said the chapters, and I was like, thank God.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See ya. Thank you for listening to Easing the Badger. If you want to keep reading along with us, please make sure you subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you find podcasts. Make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and a review where possible. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at EasingBadgerPod, and send us an email at easingthebadgerpod@gmail.com. Our link tree will be in the show notes. Theme music is Magic Tavern by Alexander Nakarada.